I've done that a lot.
Yeah. So I'd like to welcome to UBMS podcast the great Jorrie.
Oh, thank you.
I'm pronouncing your name right?
It's actually Jorrie. So J-O, Jorrie,
Yeah.
But
So,
it's very close. Most people go Yuri
right.
or think it's Russian.
Yeah. Jorrie, it's a Dutch, right?
It's Dutch, yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us about your bringing up, like your childhood? Because this, I think, it forms the artist that will come later.
Yeah, I was quite big into sports, but I think where the visual side sort of happened was my mother really liked photography and was always doing like holiday videos and stuff. So I had like a camcorder available, and like in high school we sort of started making funny videos, sort of inspired by Jackass, that era, and I got really interested in photography. And I then wanted to do a photography course, like a short intro course, and it turned out that there wasn't enough scholars that wanted to do that, and they asked me, are you interested in doing the School of Video Production? And that's where I got really introduced to video production, and realized, okay, now I can do 25 photos per second, and yeah, that sort of just pulled me in. And I, obviously from childhood, you've watched a lot of movies, got a lot of inspiration. But there's also incredible power in storytelling, and it's a power tool. And whether you're just doing it for entertainment, that's good. There's a reason and there's a value in it, or you might have a bigger story that you want to tell. So it's such an incredible tool to have at your disposal.
Yeah, of course. Do you remember from your childhood a very, very specific film or TV series?
Braveheart.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm one of those. I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. No, actually, Braveheart was like, wow, it's something like we were not familiar with such true story and true I think it's directed by Mel Gibson, and it was one of the very first maybe his first film to direct.
Yeah.
It was like 1,400 extras, and this was very
and I mean I think the one after that was impressive was Gladiator. So it's sort of like I don't know. I just that sort of stories that sort of I can watch it 100 times. It's still good. But I think even look at something like, and I mean this might be cheesy, something like the Titanic. It was also when it was this big blockbuster, and people ended up going to the cinemas 11 times to watch it. I know in my time people like just went to watch it over and over again and stay awake. Maybe it was for one specific scene that they went again. I'm not sure, but but they went, and but it was good stories, and I think that's the thing. It was like, yes, it needs to look nice and big effects and fight sequence and stuff. If your story is not good, it's pointless.
Exactly. So this is my main question for you. Like, what attracts you to, or what will make you, okay, I'll do this project, or I will not do this project?
I don't think, I think to be in a situation where you can decide it, I think you're very fortunate. And we also need to remember that what we do, or the fact that you are a cinematographer, it's a very fortunate position to be in, because there's a lot of people that are not going to get the opportunity. So we're firstly extremely privileged to be in a situation where you can make films. Secondly, you're in an even better situation if you can decide. So for me, in the beginning, I think it was more relationship with the type of directors and writers and people that I've known that sort of sent me in a specific course where there was certain stories, and this type of stuff we've mostly done was like breaking the mold. It was completely different. It was not the normal side. But at the end of the day, the story is the story. But I'm fanatic about lighting, and I'm crazy about lighting, and the fact that that will always send my style in a specific direction. And the more you do it, the more you learn. And there was definitely a time in our industry where the image was the number one priority. And as a cinematographer, yes, it needs to be. But I think it really shifted in the last few years, where it sort of changed to how can I serve the story through the cinematography, and to hero the story, and to start doing stuff more purpose driven. We call it CV hunting or showreel hunting, where a lot of times you're almost compromising a scene and a movie to get that one high budget shot, because this is going to be great on my showreel. Where it needs to become like, okay, this is about the story. It needs to be great because it's going to do this and this and this in the story, and it's going to add this value and this scale. And it's important, and I've learned that, like, okay, how do you frame and light with purpose to, at the end of the day, serve the story that you're telling.
Yeah, of course. Actually, I remember a quote from Sir Roger Deakins when he said that if audience left the cinema with like, I like the image, or I like the picture, I like the photo, I like the photography, or I like the lighting, this is a failure, because they got out of the story. They are not involved. They are not invested anymore. So it has to be, because I really got admired, because you are director of photography and producer, and this is very, how can you strike a balance between because someone is very, very creative and very dreaming, and the other one is logistic oriented and very practical. So how can you strike a balance with this?
I'm not very dreamy. I am very practical, which I think, but I think the reality as well is not a lot of people are in a fortunate position where you're a cinematographer and just a cinematographer. A lot of times you need to be a business owner, you need to own equipment, there's a lot of aspects, you need to be able to market yourself. There's a lot of what you do that's actually already business and in a form producing. And producing is just, it's just stepping up, and you're now responsible for other people and stuff, but it is a difficult thing to balance, because it's like a writer, telling a writer from the origin of the story, this is the limitations, you need to write a low budget movie. It's not going to be great because you're writing with those limitations. And the same on the producing side is you need to check yourself the whole time of not like oversimplifying it.
Do you remember your very first job as in film set?
Being paid. or not shooting. I did so I was basically, so I would say the first job is when I was studying. I realized very quickly I'm not going to get hands-on experience on cameras. So I actually went to a company and said, okay, if you guys pay, if you pay for the equipment, I'll do the rest for free.
Right.
Nice. And they agreed, and eventually became a client. So that would have probably been like the first job. The first like passion project would have been like a music video.
All right.
That I've done with a band and some friends. But it's
as a DP from the start.
On that one, Look, I've shot a lot of different stuff. So I think DP or cinematographer, I think, misunderstood a lot of times what exactly it means. Single shooter, setting up your own lights. Yes, you can be a DP. Where cinematography for me is more the technical camera side is a part of it, but the people management is actually a massive other part of it as well. So you're obviously managing your technical crew, the overall visual look, and how you're going to achieve it. Relationship with your director, relationship with your actors. So there's a lot of different depths and elements to it.
Yeah, sorry.
Your lig is weer af.
Why? This is. Why is this happening? I don't
know. Bly maar net hier so. So our gaffer's having a tea break up there.
Oh, that's why?
But he's also not a gaffer. Oh. So that's why. Come gaffer.
The thing is, there's like two ways. Like some people are like starting as a trainee or second assistant, and some people are like starting off the bat, like starting as a cinematographer or DP.
Well, look, you do, but it is also, I mean, there's people that come out of film school and they call themselves a cinematographer.
Yeah, but
because I did a film, a short film. It's like, but there's a lot of discipline and stuff that you need to learn that we obviously not always. So in my case, it was opposite. I did it completely different. So I started. I was a single shooter, operated at a lot of weddings. Did a lot of corporate stuff, had a PD-170 that I shot like a lot of stuff on. So I then started going into wildlife, lifestyle documentaries, and got to a point where I really wanted to break into the long form, but I had a certain level of experience of what I've done that to now go through the ranks would not make sense. And that's when we took the bold step to produce our first film, to show long form that we can do it, and the rest is history. From there we were sort of built up, and then I produced and shot about 4 films, and after that I just started shooting. My name was out there, people started knowing me, just started shooting a lot of stuff, and then probably 2019 is the first time I got back into producing again.
All right.
After about like 6 years.
Yeah. What made you take this step? No, I will not be just director of photography anymore. I have to produce.
I needed to change stuff in the industry. I was working with crew. I know the hours, I know the challenges, a lot of conversations on set, and that was for me the next step, is to actually address some of the issues by taking into that position, and then secondly also to create work and opportunity, and also to do movies and stuff that I'm going to be passionate about and I want to make as well. So, but the main thing that brought me back into that was the film called Gaia. And Gaia was that was a place where like, okay, I want to take control back. And we literally it's literally a combination of crew that's worked on numerous of productions with me as a cinematographer, director, art department, wardrobe, makeup, everybody that sort of came together and we made Gaia.
It's a masterpiece, it's brilliant, and the thing is the location, everything is like in harmony.
Yeah.
You can see it. You can see it's all the departments are like working together to achieve this story, to tell this.
And there's a lot of stuff that people think is VFX that was actually like in camera prosthetics and makeup.
Wow. The fungus and everything.
Yeah,
wow.
there's a scene at the end of the movie as well where the character is being grown over with mushrooms and flowers and stuff. That was all applied.
Wow.
So Sulani, our makeup artist, and the team was small. Our makeup department was 2 people.
Wow.
And then we had wardrobe and art helping, and yeah, it was a small production with a very big heart.
Actually, I think you won a special jury prize in South by Southwest Film Festival in 2020.
Yeah, so best cinematography for all the features at the festival, which is a massive. I mean, it's a Zeiss Cinematography Award. It also won the SAFTA Best Film, Best Cinematography, Best Sound Design. It's now won the Visual Spectrum Award in South Africa in the Cinematography Guild. It's out of films made the last 3 years, and it's insane. There's movies that's massive budget productions. It's local work from a DP for international production house that we weren't competitive with, and we're sitting with this small movie, but I think the heart and the root, it's just rooted.
Yes.
And also that's the other thing I think that we shouldn't forget. It's the moment you do a smaller film or something that's a little bit more independent, there is a lot more space for creativity. That sort of gets lost sometimes on your bigger productions.
Of course, because I think sometimes the bigger the production, the less
bigger the problems.
Control. Exactly. Yeah, and the less creative control. Actually, I know a lot of. I don't want to name names, but a lot of my mentors, when they are professors and filmmakers for like 3 decades or something, and they said that when they are coming from Middle East or Africa or something, and when they came to Hollywood to do their films, they don't have the creative freedom to name their films, to choose the main roles, to choose some of even the final cut, the director's cut. They don't have this right. Sometimes
that's why you get a director's cut.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't have the final say. That is. So in Gaia, I mean, we three producers in Gaia. It's the scriptwriter, myself, cinematographer, and the director.
All right.
So the combination was amazing, and Jakub Bauer that directed it. We've done numerous series together, and we've also worked at pretty high pace. So we've got such incredible shorthand in communicating what we want to achieve and how we're going to get it. And it looks like a big movie.
It is a big movie.
But it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shot in very limited time, very limited resources. My lighting department was technically a best boy and a spark, and we had to get another spark in from the village to just help carry stuff. Somebody that plays rugby, has never even been on a film set before, was like part of our team. And I mean, we hiked into very strange places. So the interesting thing was like, it's a movie about Mother Earth taking back control.
Yes. Yeah.
We wrote it before COVID.
Yeah.
We didn't have to shoot. We had 7 days of production left when we had to lock down. And I'll never forget that. It was a night shoot. I think we finished around 12 o'clock at night.
Okay.
We heard that the lockdown news around 9 from the producers' side. And we said, okay, let's just finish the night. We finished our night work. We called all the crew together. And we were shooting 5 hours out of Cape Town. So it's a location shoot. And we had to break the news. Okay, guys, we are shutting down. We've got, I think we had a day and a little bit before the hard lockdown kicked in. We have to pack up. Art department, sets, gear returns, everything.
How it felt?
It was, I must say, it was emotional. It wasn't, on my side, it wasn't just about the project. It was also about the people, because you become a family. And in South Africa, you know, our economy and levels, privilege levels are like high, you know. So you sort of know, you know, these guys that I work with is now going to go sit in a township. What type of control is there? And it's a lot of people in small spaces. And for me, it's fun. I'm going to a nice house and I'm, you know, in a privileged position. And I think that was more like the uncertainty. But we were one of the very few productions that actually managed to get like from our broadcaster, like a film support. We were able to pay salaries for people for a few weeks. That was incredible.
Of course.
And then it all passed, and after the lockdown, so it took us, after we stopped, about 6 months later we could complete the film. But the challenge then was we lost half of our locations because a lot of it was in a natural reserve, and we weren't allowed to shoot in those areas yet. So we had to find new locations on private land that sort of fits within the world that we've created.
Keep the continuity already you shot.
And that forced us, I think the trickiest location we shot because of that, and it was worth it because a lot of the great imagery was shot on that day, was a location where we had to hike in. So there was no roads. We had to, I think we hiked in for about an hour or 45 minutes with equipment to get to the first shooting point. We had a base camp halfway, and then started shooting our way back, ended in a night scene, and everybody hiked out at the end of the night. So we had like camera, lights, everything going down, got some humpers and people to help carry stuff. So it's a lot of that stuff. This
is very actually interesting and inspiring story behind the film. I watched the film and I didn't know how much effort, but it shows that it's like all of you are giving your heart, you are pouring your soul in it, and that's why it shows on the. Literally, I didn't know about this, but still I can feel it. And this brings me to. During COVID, everyone is at home, and I think the platforms they grown exponentially during this. And there is an argument about filmmaking is for theater or for cinema, and platforms is it good for our craftsmanship or not? Is it bad? And social media, like these three competitors, cinema or social media or platform. What do you think for our craftsmanship?
I think you can have a voice in all of them. So for me, for me it's cinema. I think what we're losing with the streaming platforms is the fact that we could have collective viewing. I'll always remember watching a good comedy in a cinema with 200, 300 people.
It's an experience, a human experience.
Which was like experience. So filming was experience. But I think a lot of it is moving back there again. It's just your cinemas are now becoming a place where you can also eat and it's like a whole night
Memory.
out type of experience, almost your Roadhouse experience that you had. But at the end of the day, I also think like if you've got a good story, you've got a good story.
Of course.
And that's where cinema is, and now we're doing cinema, but it's maybe not going on to cinema, it's going on to a streamer.
Yeah.
But we do get into the place where people also just want to force out content, and I think a lot of productions isn't script ready to start shooting.
Yeah. This is very
So you need to spend time, and I mean I've got countless movies that I go through on the streaming networks, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this, and then I say, oh, I've already watched this up to minute 5. Okay, there's a
And you
reason
forgot.
I stopped.
Yeah,
no, there's a reason I stopped, because in 5 minutes I'm like, okay, this is not working.
Yeah.
And it's not about the algorithm. It's not about, oh, I got bored after 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was able to see after 5 minutes that there's no story
Yeah.
that's gonna be interesting and hook me.
This is very sad, because you see sometimes a very, very big budget films, original from the platforms,
Yeah.
and it's wasted because there is no story and you cannot relate to the characters. You cannot feel.
But I think it's also, I think that we don't watch enough trailers, because in the trailer you will know already, okay, it's not going to be good. And also a lot of it's built around the talent, not around the story.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we've got a big A-list or a big name playing in this.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Good for you, but
I'm not gonna name films,
Yes,
because there's a few.
I saw.
But there's a specific ghost on a bike.
Oh, all right.
That's a good
Yeah.
example, But there's just certain movies that just doesn't go anywhere, and it's like, so we need to get.
The stories. Actually, I want to ask you about the advice that someone, maybe mentor, maybe a colleague or something, gave it to you, and you always remembered this piece of advice.
I think there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of stuff. I think the one thing just on because I really like lighting, and I don't know if it's this gaffer saying, but it's a very well-known gaffer in South Africa that I worked with, and we had this conversation about motivational lighting, because I'm always like overthinking it. I'm like, this candle, this is the light that needs to light you. Where else is it coming from? It needs to be motivated. And I said to him, I was like, what? It doesn't make sense. Where's that light coming from? And it's like, you need to sometimes just have fun as well and not overthink everything. But obviously, you need to have light and continuity. But that was very, so that's sort of a saying, like that sort of had an impact in the way I approach stuff, definitely. And then it's not like specific saying, it's more like the way certain people work and the way they handle crew and the way they approach something. And somebody like Jaco Bouwer that I've done Breathing In with, I did Gaia with him, he is one of those directors that constantly challenges you creatively.
Okay.
If we're going to work together, it's going to be a great end result, not going to be a fun process a lot of times, because he's not scared of challenging you to break the norm and stuff, and that's had a massive impact in my work.
So what do you advise the younger or aspiring filmmakers, because you are seasoned, so because you won't tell them something?
No, I get a lot of questions of people like, okay, how do I get into this? I don't know, I think a lot of cases it's people that's a little bit older. I think if you don't have any experience in the industry, if you're 35, it's going to be extremely difficult to get into it. Because the moment you've got a family and kids, I can't advise you to do certain things because you are not going to be home. There's the hours, the sacrifices you need today is going to be massive. I was privileged enough that a lot of that sacrifice was done early enough in my career, where I could create that body of work. But so if you're in that position, you then need to just start creating stories. So you need to then use your business background or whatever you've used up to that point. You can now do amazing stuff on a cell phone. You need to create content. You need to create a body of work. You can't sit and wait for opportunity. That's not going to happen. It doesn't work like that. And there's also, you might feel, oh, I really want to do this. I can promise you, in your facility and people around you, there's probably a lot of other people that feels exactly the same.
Yeah,
So if you start talking and living your passion, you're going to find somebody that's a great writer. You may be a great cinematographer. There's maybe a director, and then you need to start creating short stories.
Of course, I totally understand and I totally relate, because once you start moving, you create momentum and attract the people that they are in the same wavelength, and they will.
Yeah, and if you're passionate, being passionate ignites people, and the young generation also needs to understand you can't overuse it. You need a good story, you need a proper business plan, strategy, everything. Then you can approach a rental house and say, can you back me on this?
Yes.
And most, if they see potential in you, most rental houses will back you for 1 or 2 days shoot, because they also need new clientele and new clients coming forward.
If you succeeded and you became established filmmaker, of course they will use their
but it's not this. It's not, I just give me a camera, I want to shoot something. You need to go with a proper plan. You need to have a proper vision, a proper script. Do a story breakdown if you have to. Do a pitch deck. Take the same approach as you would to get this on a Netflix or a big streamer. But you need to do that groundwork. It's not just going to happen. But short films, it's an easy way to engage with professionals. You can do, and that's why I'm constantly also telling people there's a big difference between commercials and long form. Right? It's fine shooting a beautiful angle in a certain way, but the moment you start covering a scene where you're going to have 280 degrees coverage to maintain a quality, it's a different skill set.
Of course, and
your blocking and performance and a whole bunch of stuff.
Continuity and like even the matching of the angles, because sometimes I really loved when you said that you love to shoot with one camera, because it's much faster and you have perspective, you have control. But some people are like, we have to shoot like 2-3 cameras to catch the performance of the actors.
My main thing when I started with, especially with the series in South Africa, was, and it's changed dramatically now. I would like to think I had maybe a bit of an impact, but it's also other DOPs. But there wasn't a big difference between our telenovelas and our drama series. It looked very similar. Why? Because they were shooting also drama series, you're also going to shoot 2 free cameras, same as you do a telenovela on a set. So there wasn't, and we really started pushing single camera in the approaches, and if we've got a limited budget, it is a very effective way to actually shoot good.
Of course. And I like to ask you about the budget. When you are wearing the producer hat, this is, how can you decide on the budget for each department? Like,
a lot of times you've got a global that you're going to work with. So let's say it's a commission, then it's a per minute budget. You know what your global is, and then you need to start breaking it down and decide, okay, who gets what. Because I'm on the technical side, I've got a very good idea of what cost what. I also own a lot of equipment, so a lot of time I'll bring quite a substantial package onto the production. That sort of from producer side really helps as well. But it's difficult. I know there's like a breakdown. 10% to this and 5% goes to this, and there's like a global breakdown, but that's never practical.
But you already have an experience as a DP, owner, operator. You have experience.
But what I can say, we don't budget enough for wardrobe and art.
Yes.
Not in South Africa. I think other countries might be different, but in South Africa specifically, it's a massive oversight. The biggest surprise that I got, so when I started producing, it's the first time I actually realized what our standbys are getting paid. And a standby, I'm talking about makeup, standby, art department standbys, right? So I used to, like on set as a DP, you're like, why is this not ready? Why didn't you check the monitor? You're fairly hard on people. And then when you get in that bracket, you're sort of realizing what some of the standbys are getting paid, and it's not fair. For the work that because on a smaller set, it's your HOD makeup, and then your standby is the one on set quality controlling what gets shot.
Yeah, of course.
And and it's a crucial role. It's so important. So that's one thing that we address in our productions as well, is to give fair rates in those balances. And I think in that example, there's a lot of other areas that needs to be in that point. And at the end of the day, it's like there's a budget cap always. But we need to be at a fair trading price for our crew, for all our people, all our creatives. But everybody needs to be in a balance. I can't have a DOP earning this and my head of art department earning this.
Yes, all right.
So everybody sort of needs to come there. It's like a HOD is a HOD.
Yeah, you're right.
Your rates are supposed to be competitive and similar. Even if it's on the lower side, then everybody buys in and they like sort of there.
It feels fair.
It feels fair, and crew also talks.
Exactly.
Maybe not your DPs, but let's say your focus puller will talk to a loader, and a loader knows what the operator is carrying and what this. Yes. And it needs to be on a fair scale, and it's not regulated in South Africa. So there might be some productions that's really taking abuse of it. But there's also the trade-off, to be honest, where we also need to understand what the value of training is. If this is your first time coming onto a set, you can't expect to be there, but that can't become the new standard.
Yes.
There needs to be a balance and incremental growth. But allocating budgets, that's always going to be difficult. Because it's also a budget is almost like a living organism. It sort of lifts, and we be like constantly trying to save, but to put more to post,
Yes. Sometimes some accidents happen, some like COVID, like whatever it happens, and it's unexpected and unplanned for. But
the reality is like we never have insurance really for weather days. People's crew is like, oh, why don't you just have insurance for weather days? You know what it costs.
Yes, exactly.
It's a risk that we're doing. We're trying to use our schedule to eliminate that risk. So we will try and say, okay, if there's rain, we're going to shoot all the interiors. But sometimes you run out of interiors, and you now lose half a day or a day, and then you need to work and catch up. Yes. But that's the risk, and a lot of times I think like I don't enjoy sitting in front of a computer. I think post would be like very tedious to me, but I do like the lack of risk that comes with post-production, in the sense of on set, this is the time frame, this is where we need to do it. If you as a editor feels I'm a little bit behind, I mean, you can work a little bit later at night. We can't work later at set. It's overtime and a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of risk during your production phase.
You need to spend a lot of time in pre-production to avoid any waste in production, I think.
We do, but I do think what do you want to say? I do think experience plays a very big part in that as well, because in a lot of our stuff you don't get that time in pre-production. I've done a 13-week series with a week prep.
Just week.
One week.
Wow.
I was like, and they were like, well, that's what we've got. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I spent 3 weeks because I know, phone call, coffee with the director, breaking, planning, that type of stuff. But on production side, there was a week. And then you sort of, in the moment, you need to make bold choices and decisions, and you need to stick with it. So you need a thick skin. Yes. Sometimes it doesn't pay off, a lot of times it does pay off, but that's where the experience comes in. So I sort of see myself in those situations a lot of times like an instinct filmmaker, where you just go with your instinct and what you feel is going to be right, and that comes with experience.
Of course. My last question for you is, what's your favorite or the approach, like a film or an artwork that you are very proud of, and what's your dream? Like, you won't be like ASC member, maybe you won't be like an Oscar winner, maybe. So what's your dream and what's your favorite so far?
I think the film that I'm really passionate about is Gaia. And not just because of the accolades, and it's great getting recognition, but it's about the whole process, and it's some of your toughest shoots is a lot of times your most rewarding. I don't know why it works like that. It must be about the blood and sweat and tears that goes into
like
it.
This,
So that's definitely breathing in is something that's also really close to my heart. Reza Daved's work is phenomenal. it's a play that the film was based on.
And it's era piece also. It's not.
Yeah. So that was also that's also something that I'm really proud of, and it came out. I'm really happy with the look and how everything worked. But where I'm going, I'm not sure. It's going to the next production. For me, it's accolades are nice, but that's not what's going to drive me. I think the moment you start shooting for accolades, I think you might fall out of the bus a little bit, because you're going to miss it. It's just going to be about abstract. It's not going to be about the story. So it's about the next good story. And I think at the end of the day, we just want people to watch our movies. And that was the great thing with something like Heart of the Hunter that was on Netflix. It's a production that goes out to millions of people. A lot of people have the opportunity. Had people in different countries phoning me like, "Oh, we watched the movie. Oh, we loved it." It's like, so that's the benefit of streaming, is you can reach a massive audience immediately. But those opportunities isn't that regular.
I remember one phrase from David Ogilvy, the guru of advertising. He said that you cannot save souls in empty church. So you have to deliver your art to as many as possible audience. That's why when this Netflix or whatever platform is the role of distributing, because South African films, it's maybe the opportunity of distribution is very limited. Maybe I don't know the region, but
I do think we've started to break the mold quite a lot, and even if you take Gaia, it's 40-50% is Afrikaans in the film. Yet it did incredibly well in the US. So there's definitely that subtitle barrier has been broken, and people are looking at good stories and stuff. But there's still a lot of countries that will dub it to English or to something that you can relate with, something that excites you. And I can quickly read a script and it can excite me or it can't. But I will in my career definitely be in a situation where I'm going to do a movie where I'm maybe not passionate about, and it's just work. But it's still an incredible privilege to be able to do what we do.
Yes. Thank you, Jorrie, for being with us today, and we are very honored and privileged to attend your workshop and your masterclass, and to be a guest here in UBMS podcast. Thank you so much for your generosity and your time.
Okay,
your experience.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Okay, thank you.